Hello everybody, it's Mahadeva, the OG Thunder Wizard. And today I want to talk to you about Kundalini Shaktipat, energy transmission. What are the different kinds of energy transmissions that you can receive? What are some of the experiences? Specifically, I'm going to be talking about the kinds of experiences that people have where they seemingly lose control of their body, where their body gyrates into different positions and they do mudras and they laugh, they cry, they make noises or speak in tongues or all that kind of stuff. What does that mean? Is there any danger to this kind of experience? And what is Kundalini? Is Kundalini life force energy? Is this an experience of what people call Qi, or is it an experience of something else? Why do we have these two different words, Qi, Kundalini? So where should I start? All right, so I did some research, as I always do. Of course, I have known about this experience for many years now. I have my experiences with it and my understandings of it. But I'm interested to see what the kids are into these days. Now I'm interested to see what is, people's experiences. What is the modern or the contemporary story? Because it changes all the time. What people say about certain anything, experience, philosophy, tradition, the way they talk about it now will be different than it was 10, 20, 30 years ago. So I'm always trying to see where the storyline is these days. Anyway, as I was doing research just today, I was flipping around on YouTube to see what was going on, and I found a video of somebody who claims to give a Kundalini awakening Kundalini activation process. And it was Shaktipat. He's going around and he's holding his hand above certain meridians, and then you see pictures of people going into spasms or having blissful experiences or, who knows what. And listening to him, I wanted to then hear what he had to say about it, because that would tell me everything. Because if he talks about it in a way that I believe is informed and educated about that, then I would say, well, this might be somebody you want to go and experience this kind of activation with, if that's something that you want. But if they don't know what they're talking about, then it doesn't prove that there's something wrong with them, but then I start to have doubts as to, okay, if this person doesn't understand the different energies involved and the different pathways and the different ways that this energy can be activated, then I would say you might want to hold off, because it's really important that the person who does the activation, the Shaktipat, either knows what they're doing in terms of they know the different energy pathways and what they're actually physically, spiritually doing to the other person or releasing from within the other person, or somebody who is so connected in their spiritual path that when you have this experience, that there's also the presence of a deity that will be able to protect and guide. So if somebody's a devotee of Krishna, for example, and they have this ability to do Shaktipat, then if this person really has a strong connection with Krishna, then Krishna is going to be doing all the work, and then he doesn't have to really know what's going on. He's just a channel. But if somebody who presents themselves as an energy master or a spiritual master, and they're going to do it to you because of their energy, then they have to really know what they're doing. Otherwise, it can fall into dangerous territory for a bunch of different reasons. So let's talk about, generally speaking, what happens. First, we should talk about Shaktipat. Shaktipat is a staple aspect of Hindu religious life. And it is very common and recommended to go to your spiritual teacher who will bless you. And he might, who knows what he'll do, he might touch your third eye, he might touch you on the top of the head, he might even, touch your tailbone, something like that, in order to give you an energy transmission, and you may or may not have an experience. A real teacher may not be interested in giving you an experience. So the other thing is, a teacher who is focused on giving you an experience, a physical experience, that is potentially a red flag. Doesn't mean anything necessarily in and of itself. That may be their gift and what they're here to do. But again, if they're going to be one of these people that gives you a physical experience, then they have to be able to know what's happening and be able to take care of you. Like I said, either with their own spiritual knowledge and power, or because they have the blessings of a deity that will surround and protect the whole group and make sure that everything, is healing and helpful. But you have multiple energies within you. You are not just your soul in a physical body. You are actually a community of different energies that has its own consciousness. In fact, all of your organs have their own consciousness. And for instance, if you have an organ that is ill, you can communicate with it. This is something you can do. You go deep into meditation and talk to your lungs or your liver or your kidneys or whatever is out of balance, and you communicate with it. And you say what's going on. And what you'll find is, if there's a serious problem, if you're able to, you will get a message from that organ which will tell you what it is you've been doing to cause it harm. Because there will be an emotion that you will not be facing. That when you've got an pain, anger, resentment, longing, something. There's something that you need in this life that's part of your true path and part of your health. And if you deny yourself this, and we do it all the time, this is part of the challenge of being human, is that we run into dysfunctional people who seek to align us with their agendas. And when that happens and we deny our own true path in life, then we end up in conflict with ourselves, and then we have all kinds of emotions that get repressed, because if you were to feel the emotions, you would align yourself towards your true path, which would take you out of somebody else's agenda. And or you throw your true path aside so you can get the love and approval of somebody. It's not necessarily you're just a victim of somebody else's agenda. We throw ours and we try to adopt another, what is it that they want from me, and I'll be that for them. And doing that for a long time can create repressed emotions which get lodged in the body. Anywhere. Can get lodged in, anything. But oftentimes you'll find it lodged in the organs. The point I'm trying to make is that you have an energy body. You have an etheric body. You have a causal body. You have a physical body. You have all these different, you have an emotional body. You have all these different bodies, and each of these energy bodies within you, the layer upon layer, has its own consciousness and awareness and will tap you into other realms of existence. And so what you see, when you see somebody who's getting an energy transmission to the point where their body is doing this, or they're having an emotional experience, or they're having a vision, it means that this person or the energies working through this person has tapped into one of those energy bodies and is isolating it and either filling it with energy or releasing energy or something like that. Now, your experience will be that you've had this amazing blissful experience and now you're one with God. Now, that might be the case if the end result is that your experience of Shaktipat then guides you forward in life in a positive way, then I'm all for it. But more often than not, you have the same kinds of experiences that you do when you take any kind of external chemical, Or, sex is one of those things. Sex is you're tapping into certain energies within your body and they're being released and you have these orgasmic, blissful experiences. Do they last forever? No. Does it always mean that it's going to help you? No. Sometimes afterwards you feel worse, depending on, if you're throwing yourself away or, who knows what. So just because you have energetic, quote, spiritual experience, it doesn't necessarily mean that you've connected to God. So I want to share with you something that I learned. First off, I've seen this. What I'm about to share with you, I've seen this, and I've also watched afterwards, and I've seen the negative side effects of this. And this was from a book that I read from a Taoist master, and there was this experience. He brought people together. This Taoist master brought people together and he put them in a room. And I don't know exactly what it is that he was teaching or what it is he wanted to do, but he sat there and he, just by sitting there, because of his, Taoist powers, he was able to get people into different states of awareness just by intending it. And so he would know how to go in and hook into the different bodies, whether it was the energy body or the emotional body or whatever it was. And so in this seminar, he's there and he's sitting there, in the front, and the rest of them are sitting there. All of a sudden, everybody starts going into some kind of physical convulsions. Either people start, writhing around, or they go into mudras, or they laugh, or they cry, or they start babbling, or they speak in tongues, or they just, have, all kinds of experiences. And then it suddenly stops out of nowhere. And people are wondering, what the hell happened? And then he takes them into guides them into another experience. And afterwards, his student comes to him and he says, explain to me what happened when people were going into doing mudras and they were speaking in other tongues and they were writhing around and they were laughing. And he says, oh, what I did was I went in, I don't remember the exact word that he used, but he said, I went into their energy body and I put their energy body on the throne of their being. So the idea is that you walk around with your soul. Your soul is the king. And when your soul is sitting on the throne of your person, then you have spiritual authority and you have control over your body, you have control over your mind, and this is where you want to be. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't benefit from giving your energy body control. Because in the energy body, you have trapped in there all kinds of things, all kinds of feelings, all kinds of, like I said, you have all kinds of awarenesses in your body. You're holding all kinds of feelings and awarenesses in your body. And so it can be very balancing because then, whatever you're repressing within your body can be released in all these different ways. You're laughing, you're crying, you go into mudras. This is the way of the nervous system and the body releasing and balancing itself. And the whole idea is it's a cleansing. Now, your experience will be whatever other experiences you have, like the emotions and the bliss or whatever. Besides that, what will happen is that you'll have this tingly experience, and you'll feel all of the nerves tingling, and you may have that may be a very blissful experience of having your nervous system, really on heightened awareness. And so what has happened is that your nervous system has actually released energy. Your experience might be that, oh my God, I've tapped into the infinite power of the universe. And this is where the knowledge of the practitioner really comes into play here, because, like I said, I was watching this, this YouTube video of supposedly this guy doing it, and he's holding his fingers above people's, different parts of their, their navel or their heart or their third eye or their crown or who knows what, and he's finding the points, assuming that what I saw was real, and he's activating, with his energy, he's activating their energy. But what the big red flag is that when somebody asked him, what is it that you're doing? He said, oh, well, I'm activating the Kundalini, which is just the same as Chi. It's life force energy. And, it means the same thing. And right there, huge red flag. So he doesn't know the difference. He doesn't know what he's doing. Wherever he got this ability, some people have natural abilities, he doesn't know what he's doing. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that anything bad comes up from what he does. I don't know him well enough, but there's a potential problem right there. If you don't know any better and you have a gift, then you want to have a deity there. Whoever it is, Rama or Krishna or Shiva or, Shakti or whoever it is that you worship, you want that deity there because you don't know what the hell you're doing, but that's okay. The deity does, and you are being protected. Everybody's being protected. But if somebody has unleashed some kind of ability and they don't know what they're doing, then there is the possibility, it's not guaranteed, but there is the possibility that what's happening is that this person is then using their energy to help dislodge this person's energy body from their soul. So what this Taoist guy said was that he was switching the roles from the energy body and the soul so that the soul took a back seat and let the energy body have complete control. And that's why people had seemingly no control over what they were doing and all of that. But because he knew what he was doing, he was then able to come back and, put their soul back on the seat of their body and all those kinds of things. And, it can be very healing. Now, what he said was, this was a Taoist master, what he said was, this can be very dangerous because once you take the soul off of the throne and you put the energy body onto the throne, then you become, I'm using my own words here, you become a magnet for other spirits, for hungry spirits. Because when your nervous system is releasing all of this energy, whether it's Kundalini, life force energy, when it's releasing all of this into the atmosphere, ghosts and demons who are constantly hungry, they're hungry because they are not connected to the spirit, they're not connected to the light, which is why they're trapped here running around. They look for sources of energy. That's why people get hauntings, that's why people get possessed, because these are energy beings who aren't connected to the source of all energy, which means that they're constantly hungry. You'll find pictures, sometimes you'll see photos of, people's electrical boxes, and there will be a ghost hanging around the electrical box because they just have to find energy wherever they can get it. So they like that. And that's why things like, lights will go on and off. It's because electricity is not the exact energy they're looking for, but it approximates it. So they like to get into electrical systems and things like that so they can get the energy. So when, for instance, if there was a scenario where the uneducated, or the worst part, somebody who has this knowledge but has malintent, who wants to create a cult, because cult leaders do this also, wants to create a cult, wants to control people, wants to feed off of your energy, then this is one of the most powerful tactics they can use. They will use their ability, their manipulation, their knowledge to get you to release control of your soul body, your energy body, so that he can go in and manipulate it, so that your soul is in the background watching while your energy body now has complete control. There's nobody controlling it, which is why it can be good or bad. The good thing is when you need to release something. There's some feelings in there that need to be released, and you need to cry or you need to laugh or whatever. The body contorts, the energy body and the spinal column contort to release energy in the spine. Those are all good things, unless you want to feed off of people. Then as you're releasing the energy, they will feed off of you, or it opens your aura up, and then you can have other entities come and hook into your aura. And then that's when you walk around and people have demons, or they have, hauntings. That's how, like, if somebody can have a haunting and they pick up and they move somewhere else and the haunting follows them, it's because the spirit is hooked into their energy body. And so you take them with you like, luggage. So I've seen this. I've seen people. I've experienced it myself, where I've put energy into people, and I've seen that happen, which is one of the reasons I don't consciously do that anymore, because that's fun. Number one, it's not necessary. It's better that you learn how to do it yourself than have somebody do it for you, because you don't really gain anything from that. Like I said, unless somebody really is using the power of a deity, and then that's a way for you to connect with the deity. And then what will happen is, after you get that transmission, then the deity is now working with you, and you start to change your life. You start to become conscious of ways that you are repressing your emotions, or activities or behavior or mindsets. Then you can say, yes, I had Shaktipat by Guru so-and-so, and it changed my life, because now, well, that's really because Guru so-and-so really is just allowing the energy of either his wisdom, if he truly has got that, or some deity working through him. He really hasn't done anything. And he will say that. He'll say, I'm just a vessel. I'm not doing anything here. But you have teachers who claim to be something that they're not. They claim to be bodhisattvas. They claim to be the incarnation of such and such. And maybe they actually do have a gift, because some people are born with gifts. They get these karmic gifts over many lifetimes, and some people just have gifts. And there could be somebody that just has an intuitive gift to know how to put people into that state, but then they buy into their own hype, they buy into their own delusion, or, simultaneously they buy into the delusion of their followers. And then what ends up happening is they say, yes, I am the incarnation of such and such, and bow down to me and sit at my feet. And then you've got the whole Bhagwan Rajneesh thing, where people say, I don't care, he should have as many Rolls Royces as he wants, and all that kind of garbage. Then you have a cult leader. And let's talk about the cult leader, the manipulative individual. Now, I was watching this thing. Again, I went back and I found what I was looking for, which I wanted to talk about this. And just, I have this theory when I see, okay, here's what he's going to do, here's what he's going to say. And sure enough, he said that. As he's getting people ready for this, people have paid money to have this experience, and he's going to awaken their Kundalini, which he thinks is the same as life force energy. He doesn't know the difference, which there is a difference, which we'll talk about. And he says, so what I want you to do is I want you to just relax and open yourself to the experience. And what he's saying is, I want you to give me control over you. And we do that all the time. When we go to movies, we give ourselves over emotionally. We do it all the time in relationships. When you fall in love with somebody, you make yourself vulnerable. That's what makes the sex really good, because your energies come together. But teachers do this as well. Mentally, we do this. If you want to learn something in school, you have to put your, teachers say that you've got to empty your cup so that you can receive things. It's nothing, necessarily evil about that. But when somebody who at least has an ability to manipulate energy, and they say to you, I want you to just relax to the experience, or if they come out and say, do you trust me? Give yourself to me. I'll give you another example. This was another time I went to one of these. I really want to get specific about it, but I'm not going to, because I don't want to badmouth anybody. But I went to one of these seminars. I was invited to come, and I went to a seminar. This guy who does exactly what I'm talking about. He teaches a method that allows you to go into a spontaneous experience like this. And so there's ways to do it. There are methods where you learn how to turn certain things off and turn certain things on, and you can put yourself in that experience, which again is good if you have other things to balance it out. If you have other things to balance it out, then you can release, let the energy body come in and take control, and then you cleanse, and then you come back and you put your soul back on, on the throne, and then you're okay. But if you don't have that, then you end up in real problems. And this guy, I don't know, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But I'm going to try and avoid bad-mouthing somebody else. But what he did was he would basically set that stage of you giving control over to him. And then he would do that. He would touch people in certain ways. And then some people would have really intense experiences and other people wouldn't. And the same thing happened to this other. As I'm looking online on YouTube at this other thing, same kind of thing. They're interviewing people, and some people had really intense orgasmic experiences, and other people didn't. And in this case, where I was at, this guy couldn't do anything to this woman, and she really wanted it to happen. She was there, standing, and he's touching her in certain, energy, and nothing's happening. And she says, "Am I doing something wrong?" And that's a clear sign that ends up being part of it too. There's this peer pressure to be, if you're spiritual, then you'll have this experience, which really what it means is that you are suggestible and you have a desire to give yourself over to somebody else. So what you'll find is the people that have these kinds of experiences are people who want to be overpowered. They like being, they like being controlled. It makes them feel connected. It's what we do when people get on their knees and they bow to a deity. They're doing the same thing. They're giving over themselves to a deity. Nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with that if you were to do it to a teacher who could be trusted. There'd be nothing wrong with that because the teacher wouldn't take advantage of that, and the teacher would make sure that you're connecting to the deity and not to them, etc., etc. But if somebody has a need, and what you'll find with cult leaders are narcissists. So, everybody's narcissistic. But then when people throw out the word narcissist, what they're really trying to say is somebody with narcissistic personality disorder. And not everybody who's narcissistic or is a narcissist has narcissistic personality disorder. And of course, it's a scale. But big time cult leaders like, let's see, who's the guy? Jonestown, Jim Jones, is that his name? Jim Jones. That guy, it was full on NPD, narcissistic personality disorder. And those people have zero identity within themselves. Zero. Because of the damage that they experienced as children, as infants actually. And as a result of that, because they have no sense of self, and because they're completely empty inside, they actually need the love and adoration. So that's why cult leaders amass people around them. The more people that they can get around them, the more people they can get worshiping them, the more that they feel like they're getting close to fixing that black hole inside of them. They never do, which is why the end result is he and everybody else commits suicide, because that's the ultimate expression of his emptiness. And they've given themselves over to him, and they're not doing it for him, and they're obviously, to get involved with somebody like that, you have to have issues yourself, etc., etc. So the people who in these experiences end up having the strongest experiences tend to be people who are easily suggestible, just like the same with if you want to hypnotize somebody, you can't hypnotize somebody without their permission. So you find the most psychologically suggestible people. And what ends up happening is that a lot of these people, again, I'm not generalizing everybody, but a lot of these people, you will find, in fact, my thought when I see the people who have the biggest experiences, my thought is, I wonder what their childhood was like. Because you end up with people who are in a lot of pain, who have a lot of repressed feelings and emotions, and they want somebody to come and save them. So the idea of going and having a Kundalini awakening, and I don't have to do any work, I just show up and somebody magically touches me, and now I'm spiritual, and I'm spiritually enlightened now because Saint so-and-so touched me. That's what, emotionally damaged people want. They don't want to look at their feelings. I mean, who does? I'm not judging them. Pain is no fun. Nobody wants to look at their pain. And nobody wants to look at their psychological issues. Nobody wants to do that. If somebody comes along and snaps their finger and makes it go away, all the better. And so those people end up making the best, cult members, because then they've had this experience. The cult leader has actually now hooked himself into their aura. And so they're feeding off of them all the time. And at the same time, the individual enjoys this experience at first because all of their feelings are painful for them. So if somebody's coming along and siphoning out the excess energy, emotional energy or whatever it is, then so much the better. And that's why you see these, cult members like that. No, I don't care. I'll give him as many Rolls Royces as he wants. He's God on earth. So this is a very real thing. So the thing that you want to do is you want to be able to have your soul on the throne. The soul needs to be on the throne of your body. And the reason why you see people who are getting, same thing with faith healers, same thing. Benny Hinn, touch people, they go falling back and then they're magically healed. And then you find out 6 months later they died of whatever he supposedly healed them of. Same thing with snake charmers, right? Same kind of thing. The same idea is happening. I'm trained in shamanic African drumming, and although I don't do this when I drum because it's not my thing, but when I would go to my teacher's drum rituals, there would be priests of the Ifa, and people who followed that, who, when you get the right rhythm going, they would flop on the floor like a fish. And then while they're in that state, you would want to be near them, and then they would cleanse you. They would cleanse your aura. And that's because the reason why that's happening is because that's what's happened. Their experience is they've given themselves over to a deity, which they very well may have. And so that's the deity in their body expressing themselves. And then you go and you get blessed by them. So somebody will be holding them up as they're in trance, and you stand in front of them and they'll wave their hands in front of you, and it's supposedly cleansing your aura. Well, that's the case if in fact a deity is expressing itself through your nervous system, and the individual is their energy body's in control, which means that there's going to be this release of energy coming out of them. So under the right circumstances, that could be a very healing experience. They could actually come and heal your aura. But I remember in that experience when, because as I was doing that, I remember I was drumming and I was really getting into it, and I think I put my drum down for a second, and my Kundalini had been awakened because of the drumming, for sure. And I felt this presence come on to my left side of my body, and I felt this very subtle, very kind. It wasn't anything weird or anything like that. I just felt this presence that said, as somebody was flopping on the floor, and I was used to it by now. It didn't freak me out. I was like, oh, good for them. And then I felt this presence say, would you like to have that? And I thought about it. And I went, do I want that? And the only reason I didn't was because I didn't like the idea of looking like that. I mean, I'm still too much of a white person to do that in front of people. It's hard on my ego, and it would make me embarrassed. So after I thought about it, I said, no, thank you. And then it wasn't a voice, but the presence gave the feeling of, okay, and moved on. And so that's what's happening when people in shamanic states go into that, and they say that they've been mounted by the deity. It means that their energy body is now, that their soul has taken a back seat, and their energy body is in control, and the energy body then becomes the gateway through which the entity or the teacher or the spirit can come into your energy body and either possess you or empower you or bless you. So I want to get rid of that. It's not an either or. I put on here demonic possession or divine bliss. It could be one or both of those at the same time, and neither. And ideally what you want, Ideally, what you want when it comes to Kundalini awakening is you want to have it be gradual and peaceful. It's okay if you have an experience, but if you have an experience because you've done some, mudra or mantra, or some teacher has come along and you go through that, it just means that there's blocks in your energy body that are being released in the perfect scenario. So there's nothing wrong with those experiences, but there are people that I knew, like I said, that this was their practice, that this individual had found a practice and taken it out of context, because there are going to be, if it's a full practice, there will be the practice that takes your soul off of the throne and puts your energy body in control, and then there will be another aspect, a technique which will put things back into order or strengthen your aura, etc., etc. This guy had taken it out of context. He just took the one that served him, which was taking people's soul off of the throne of their body and allowed them to just go into this state where their energy body was in control, and then he'd hook himself into their energy body. And a lot of people had really, really bad experiences of it. And it's not that there's anything necessarily evil about the practice, except that when you hook it up with somebody who, in my experience, really needs love and approval, wants to be a cult leader because what he really wants is love and approval, then you've got a really bad scenario, because then the people that are going to come to him are people who want to be controlled, who want to be saved, who want to be fixed, and they're going to give you access to their energy body the moment they walk in the room. They desperately want somebody to save them from their miserable, lonely existence. So can you see? This is a science. When you understand the science of this, then the mystery is released, and then you can actually use these different tools to achieve different things with yourself, with people, etc., etc. So that's how people become possessed. At least one way people become possessed is that the demons or the ghosts, or even you can be possessed by a person. You give over. Let me make it clear. You give yourself over to them. You give your permission to give them access to your energy body. And if they are, if they don't have good intentions for you, and or if they're not, conscious and evolved within themselves, then you run the risk of either them or somebody else coming along and getting inside your aura. Now, there's also the experience where, because again, this is a spectrum, so it's not an either or. So you could have the experience where somebody has this amazing, blissful experience as they're rolling around and and they're laughing and they believe they touched God, and then they go on from that experience and it changes their life. And you could have the same scenario with somebody going into spasm and having blissful experience, and it just devolves into this narcissistic, delusionary state where you have what's called Kundalini sickness. And people end up then thinking they're God, or thinking they're, attacked by demons, or, they become insane. And this is what you hear most of the time on YouTube when you talk about somebody who said, my Kundalini was awakened and it was horrible. Don't ever do it. It's a demonic thing. No, all that happened is that person accessed their unconscious mind. Their soul was taken off the throne, and their energy body, which has access to your unconscious mind, started releasing all of their unconscious fears and delusions. And they might even hallucinate. They might hear voices. It's all coming from inside of them. It could come from inside of them, and it could come from outside of them, or both. So do you understand what I'm trying to talk about here? This is the energy body. So let's talk about Kundalini for a second. Because again, I'm not getting as annoyed. I'm getting used to it. But we need to be educated on what Kundalini is and what Chi is. And when I hear this so-called master who's giving Kundalini awakening sessions, and he doesn't know the difference. And he says, very boldly that Kundalini is life force energy, it's Chi. That's disconcerting because I believe this is a science, and I believe that if we learn how to use it as a science, which is where we're designed to go here, as we go further in time, these spiritual processes need to be seen as sciences, and we need to take all of the, too much of the superstition out of it. Because if you understand it as a science, then you can take action and make decisions for your own evolution. And then you can be that person who changes themselves and evolves, and you have access to all these different tools. And if you don't understand the difference between Kundalini and Qi, and you're looking at it from a spiritual scientific perspective, then you're going to be at a loss. So the yogis have generally two words for energy. One is prana and one is Kundalini. Prana is associated with breath. That's why it's called pranayama, which is breath work, with different breath signatures. And I teach them all the time. If you go here to the 90-day challenge, I teach you a meditation that has some pranayama, some breath signatures in it. And, whether you're inhaling through your left nostril or exhaling, all the different, either inhaling or exhaling, left nostril, right nostril, both nostrils. Are you doing deep breathing? Are you breathing fast? Are you doing breath of fire? Are you doing, breath signatures like sniffing 8 times and exhaling twice? All these things do all kinds of different things to your energy body. And you can use pranayama to stimulate the Kundalini, but they're two different things. They're not the same thing. And you need to understand that. So prana is directly connected to life force energy and the energy body. That's why pranayama is really good for your physical health. Because if you do some deep breathing or some heavy breathing, which is why one of the reasons exercise is so good for you. If you go out there and you're exercising and breathing like that, you're doing pranayama. Besides, making the heart and everything, all the other things that exercise does, you're doing pranayama, which is why doctors tell you make sure you exercise. Because your aura is your first and your last defense against everything. It's your first and last defense against biological, viruses and bacteria. It has to come through your aura to get to you. It's your first and last protection when it comes to emotional being able to have your own emotional boundaries. So pranayama is good. If you don't have good emotional boundaries, do pranayama. That will help you with that. That's why I teach Qigong, because Qigong is energy work, which is, you fill your aura with life force energy. And then you end up having this ability to tell the difference between yourself and somebody else. This is why Thor, who is the god of electromagnetism, he's the god of Qi, he is the god of prana. That is why Thor, his rune is Thurisaz, which is thorn, which means protection, and why he is always off fighting the demons, fighting the trolls and the giants. It represents the life force energy constantly fighting off other people's spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical intrusions upon you. This is why martial arts, if you get into Chinese martial arts, it has everything to do with Qi. That's why they do so much Qigong, because that also, the more power you have in your aura, the more physical power you're going to have to prevent somebody physically attacking you. You have this protective aura. So this is why pranayama is so helpful. Kundalini is not prana. Kundalini is not your aura. It is not Qi. It is not life force energy. Kundalini is unique to human beings. And it is I'm always trying to find the right catchphrase so that I can explain it as efficiently as possible. Kundalini is the psychological interface energy that actually keeps your soul grounded in physical reality. It is your psychological, your human psychological energy. And it has a spiritual component because it is non-physical. But it is the energy that binds your soul into physical reality. And when your Kundalini awakens, which everybody's Kundalini is awakened to some degree, it's an illusion when somebody has a Kundalini experience that they think, oh, my Kundalini's awakened. It doesn't necessarily mean that. It just means that your Kundalini may have been blocked and or it may have been imbalanced. And it's like, a bad electrical, connection. It's sparking. It could mean the exact opposite of what they think. But because it's associated with your psychological state of being, somebody may go into a state of bliss, somebody may feel like they've traveled to heaven, somebody may go to hell and experience demons, because these are all psychological expressions of our psychological state. I'm doing this all the time because this is Kundalini coming up the spine. That's why I'm doing this. So your chakras are not the same as your dantians. Dantians are associated primarily with chi or prana, and they're called the elixir stations. They're the stations where you, they're cauldrons because you purify the energy. So the lower energy in your navel, this is called this is the chi area. This is where you build intent. And then you have the middle cauldron, which is where your soul resides. But in here, this is where you purify your emotions, your heart center. And over here, you have your third eye, which is where you purify your third eye experience, your understanding. Your ability to send out your intentions. I'm getting confused myself about the three, but you've got your psychological, which is your navel, which is untouching. You have your spiritual and emotional, and then you have your higher self, right? These three things. So those are all, that's the chakras are superimposed upon those three meridians. So it can be very confusing because you have a central channel in your body where you can, and I'm actually not the most, educated person to talk about this. We should get a TCM guy on here to talk about it, but you can open up your central channel and you can get energy flowing through there and you can have Kundalini type of experiences, but they work together. You're never going to have one without the other. And if you do have one without the other, you're going to have an imbalanced person because the idea is to have them work together. Pranayama is there to stimulate Kundalini as well as balance it because your breath has everything to do with your mind. So one of the things that people who are having Kundalini sickness should do is they should learn some pranayama. They should learn some breathing techniques to help them, balance their psychological and emotional things that are going on. As Kundalini rises up the spinal column, it goes through the 7 states of emotional maturity. And there's a negative and a positive for each one of the chakras. So while you can focus on a chakra, that doesn't necessarily mean that the chakra is open. Sometimes it's just an illusion because when you focus on something, your energy goes to it and the blood goes to it and you have this physical sensation and your nerves will feel something, but it doesn't necessarily mean anything. It could, but more often than not, it doesn't mean a whole heck of a lot. But as your Kundalini rises up the chakras, you go through your root chakra, which has to do with physical, having your physical needs met as well as control. So people whose lower root chakra is really out of balance, they can be really controlling, like an infant, because infants control because they want stuff. So they try to control everything, or they completely submit to mommy and daddy. They vacillate between either trying to control you or submit to you. That's the lower chakra. That's the emotional, psychological lesson there. The sexual chakra, that has to do with the beginnings of learning how to individuate, which is why you have different kinds of art, because the sexual chakra is how music, among other things, is used. What happens when teenagers, what do they want to do? They want to go to a dance. Why? Because they listen to the most superficial, whatever the pop music is of the day, the most superficial, the most catchy thing, so that they can dance, and they try and connect with other people through their sexual chakra, and that's also how they differentiate from their parents. That's what rebellion is all about. It's the second chakra starting to awaken, which is I leave my family and I go and connect with other people. Lightning strike. So we've got Thunor is here with us today. And then you've got the Naval Chakra, which is about, intention and power. And so you can have somebody who can be very brave, goes out in the world and gives himself, in the army for dying for his country. Or you can have the CEO who conquers the world and is very controlling through that way. You have the heart center, where you either go into a cult and you want everybody to be part of your religion because your heart wants to connect with everybody emotionally. And so when you're not mature, then you go into a cult and you go around with tracts and you knock on people's door and you say, you need to give your life to Krishna or Jesus, or, become a Mormon or whatever it is. And then you realize, oh, we're all connected anyway, and that's just their religion, and I have my religion, and it's all okay. And then you're mature, and then you move up to the throat, and then you be where I am, and you have to tell everybody what's going on all the time as you're teaching yourself. That's what I do. All this talking is I'm teaching myself. You just happen to be there. If it works for you, great. If not, there's plenty of places to go. And then you go up here to here and there, and I don't know what those are. If I do, I'm not aware of it. So that's Kundalini. But Qi is just life force energy. And not just life force energy, it's a lot more than that. It's a very complicated science, to be honest with you. All right, so I think I'm done talking for the time being. This is a question and answer, and I am interested in your questions. If you have a question, write the word question, and I'll answer it. Renee, Battlewoman of the Woods, she has a website, which you can go to, you got listed up there, which is renee.thunderwizard.com. I'll write it down here because YouTube won't block it. So you can go to renee.thunderwizard.com. She is one of my apprentices, and she can, I think she's, I don't know, are you astrology certified? I know you're rune certified. Anyway, she's a very powerful shaman in her own right. If you want to go check her out, you can. She has a question. She says, how can we tell the difference between a Kundalini awakening experience and an experience generated by our own God nature or lower self? Well, first off, let's just step back and look at how loaded that question is. There's a lot of, we're looking at things kind of, dualistically. It's like, which is why I chose this picture here of demonic possession or divine bliss, because we tend to do that. We tend to go and have extremes. But look at how much you've got just in the wording there. A Kundalini awakening experience and an experience generated by our own God nature. So I'm not quite sure what you mean by that, because Kundalini has a connection to your own God nature, and Thunor agrees. So it is a type of experience of your own God nature, but just that word God nature makes it sound like there's little humans and then there's God. Humans bad, God good. Who said that? Religion says that. I don't say that. So whatever Kundalini experience that you have is going to be an experience of yourself, even if you're a demon. So people who have a Kundalini experience where they go to hell or they hear demonic voices, they're having an experience of their own demonic nature. You can have the blissful experiences. It could be an experience of your own divine nature. They're all mixed together. It's not an either or. The deciding factor is, does it make my life better? So if somebody says that their Kundalini is awakened, but they're constantly in pain because they're going, they're having shooting pains through their arms, or they're going into, blissful states and they can't function, or they're going into, delusionary visions and they're saying it's Kundalini, well, then that would mean that it's not ideal because it's not working, making your life better. Doesn't mean that they're not having a Kundalini experience. It just means that they're, it's not working for them. So let's just take a Kundalini experience is like any other experience. It's just an experience. It's a part of you. You have your energy body, you have your soul body, you have your emotional body, you have Kundalini, you have your physical body. I mean, none of them are good or bad. They're just all part of the same thing. And if you have a positive physical experience, you can have a negative physical experience, positive emotional and negative emotional. They're all different parts of you. So I wouldn't try and figure that out, because you are just okay the way you are. And people want to have Kundalini experiences, well, number one, because they can be blissful and they can feel good. But the other reason is because they don't want to be themselves. They want to be fixed. They want to be changed. And even people, by the way, people who are demon possessed, they're doing that by choice on an unconscious level, because even the drama and the chaos and the pain and the misery of being possessed is better than having the feelings that they're really trying to avoid. So any kind of experience is something we generate or allow or attract or manifest so that we can feel differently than where we are. And ideally, you want to be right where you are. Just be who you are. You can be God and devil and demon and angel all at the same time. And that's where we want to be. And then when your soul is in control, you can have a Kundalini experience, and it doesn't mean anything other than, wow, that was an interesting experience, and here's what I learned from that. So asking me, how can we tell the difference? Do you see that? One of them sounds bad and one of them is good. You're trying to figure out, you're trying to prevent the bad experience and have the good experience, and I want you to have them all. Just be okay being who you are. Yeah, we're getting into the rainy season. Hot and muggy, getting towards summertime. So that's that sound you're hearing. So I hope I answered your question. There isn't an answer, because the answer that you're looking for is, the question is faulty. You don't need to change or fix yourself. Have whatever experience you're having and stay with yourself and take conscious action. Again, what is my definition of enlightenment? My definition of enlightenment is having all of your feelings, positive, negative, indifferent, and regardless of your feelings and impulses, you have the consciousness to take conscious constructive action, even if it's completely contrary to your impulse. Okay, Jacob McClintock, question. These are strange questions. Let me see. Did you get this knowledge directly from observing in the astral and devachanic plane? Devachanic plane? I've never heard that word before. Or were you taught this information? Jacob, why do you need to know that? If I say to you that I got it directly from the astral plane, does that make it better or worse? If I say I got it from observing, doing my own analysis, if I say I was taught it by a teacher, how does that question help you? Here's what you do with my information. I don't care if you believe me or don't believe me. I know you don't have anything against me, Jacob. But the thing to do is to put this into test, into real life. Like I said with the previous question, does it make your life better? How does that knowledge, if I say to you, yes, I went into trance, and because I have gone into trance and learned things that way. I also have a really great intuition, and I'm able to intuit things. I'm also really good at doing research and putting things together, and I've also learned directly from teachers. So the answer is at some point it's going to be yes to all of those questions, but why do you need to care about where I got it? That gives me the feeling that you're looking to find a spiritual, I'm not saying you're judging me, but you're looking to find a spiritual value to it. And anybody can say anything. That's the truth of the matter. Anybody can say anything, and it doesn't mean anything. This is one of the reasons why I like internal martial arts. Because internal martial arts operates from the theory that we have access to this thing called chi power, and you can actually fight with just not just your physical body, but life force energy. Now that actually has to be applied. You have to be able to prove it. And so you work with people, and that's what doing all the drills, or that's what push hands is all about, or exchanging of hands, or sparring. All of that is, can you back up the theory? And if you can, then you can master it within your body and do something about it. So on that level, does it matter if I learned it or was taught it? The only thing that matters is, can I deliver? And then if I can deliver and I can show you, then I say, yes, this is energy and here's how you do it. You do this. You don't care where I learned it. You just want to replicate what I did. That's what I love about internal martial arts. But now you're talking about something that, doesn't really fall into that category. And so how does that help you? So I'm not inclined to answer your question, because I would rather you meditate on your need to have that kind of control, because your question is coming from a need to control. I know you don't see it that way, but you're needing to control things. And so why do you need to have control over knowing where it came from? The only thing that matters is, can I back it up? And does my information make your life better? Where I learned it, how I learned it, really is far less important. And it puts me into, you're also asking me to go into a space of where I could get lost in my ego. Because let's just say, for example, that yes, I learned this and in meditation and the deity so-and-so, or my third eye was open and I saw. Now, by me explaining that to you, because I'm somehow appeasing some need you have for control, I'm now lost in my ego. Or I respond to your question out of my insecurity, because he's like asking me, do I have the spirituality to see it? Well, no, I learned it. Right? And then I may want to come and say, well, no, I read it in a book, but I still think it's true. And it doesn't mean that I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm still a teacher. You should still, your question doesn't help everybody. It doesn't help me. It doesn't help you. So meditate on where this question is coming from. And then if I know you're kind of new to my channel, if you think I have something of value, put into practice what I teach. If it makes your life better, great. If not, then you know that you shouldn't listen to me. Okay. Medicine Man says, what's wrong with the chat? I have no idea. You guys got to be specific. How am I supposed to respond to that? Is you having a problem? Are you not able to hear me? Let me see. Is my thing on here? Yeah, I can see that the volume's on for me. So I don't know what's going on your end. Medicine Man, welcome to my channel. I can tell you're new to my channel because the way that I do question and answers is I have you write the word question, because otherwise I have to scroll through just the comments. So you didn't do that. But the other thing is, people who've been on my channel know that I don't talk about things I don't teach. So now I know that you're new to my channel because you're asking me about something I don't teach. And let me just help you out here. If what I have is helpful to you, then keep watching. If I'm boring you and you want to talk about something else, then go to another channel where they talk about that. Don't waste your time. Because it's like coming into my class, if I'm teaching mathematics and you want to ask me a question about history. Like, this isn't a history class, this is a mathematics class. It's disruptive to the class, it's disrespectful to me, and it's disrespectful to your need to find what you want. So I don't even know what the hell aphantasia is. I don't teach about it, I'm not talking about it, I don't know anything about it. So if aphantasia is somehow associated with Kundalini awakening, then you need to explain that to me in the question so then I can respond. Don't assume that I know what you're talking about. What else? Yanka, hello Yanka, how are you? Nice to see you. Yanka says, what is the true purpose of a human to awaken the Kundalini energy? Was it because of feeling the lack of being whole? So if I understand your question correctly, you're asking, why does somebody want to have their Kundalini awakened? Well, I certainly can't speak for everybody, I'm sorry, I don't know if you guys can hear me or not. The rain is coming down in buckets, and I feel so sorry for that guy on his bicycle right now. Oh my God. So, if I understand your question correctly, what is the purpose of the individual who wants to have their Kundalini awakened? Was it because of the feeling of lack of being whole? I think that's true in many cases. They're not happy within themselves. They have an emptiness within themselves. And so they want to go to somebody who will touch them, and they want to have that bliss. I mean, I'm looking at this guy doing this thing, and these women look like they're having multiple orgasms. They look like they're in so much bliss. I'm like, God, that looks great. I wish I could do that. I want to have that kind of experience too. So who doesn't want that? But I think that's also the danger, because we can have this within ourselves. We can create this within ourselves. This is what I teach. What I'm teaching with my Qigong and my energy work and even the mantra and all that is so that we can create that state within ourselves. If we understand the science and if we have access to the technology, the spiritual technology, I think we can do it to ourselves. I think that was what your question is. If I misunderstood it, then let me know. Okay, Medicine Man says, the reason I ask about aphantasia, which again I don't know what that is, why don't I just look it up? Let me just look up aphantasia. Aphantasia is a mental condition characterized by an inability to voluntarily visualize mental imagery. All right, so now that I know the source of your question, I can be more helpful. Again, it's not what I'm talking about. So bear in mind in the future, what will be best for you and everybody else and me is to ask me about what I teach or what I'm talking about, instead of bringing in something else that's not related. I know you meant no disrespect, but it's not helpful in the long run. In any case, I will answer that question. The reason I ask about aphantasia is because I have difficulty holding mental images in my mind's eye for a long time. Is my third eye chakra blocked? If so, how can I remedy this? So you have an assumption, Medicine Man. Based on your name, Thunor agrees. Based on your name, it tells me that you're interested in shamanism. And as you know, shamanism has a lot of visionary journeys in it. So my first question for you is, do you do hallucinogens? If you do, stop doing it immediately. That's not helping. The assumption is that having a mental visionary experience is spiritual, and it's not necessarily. Your assumption is that that is necessary for you to spiritually evolve, and it's not necessary. Everybody has different abilities. Some people have really powerful visual abilities in meditation, and some people don't. This is why when you do things like what I teach, you just do the techniques. Holy crap, it is really raining out there, my God. I was going to go surfing. I would have been in the middle of all this. So yes, your assumption is that your third eye has to do with visions, and it doesn't. So let me just get rid of all of this superficial, new agey nonsense. Somebody could have crazy visions, and it could all be delusions. Has nothing to do with reality. Some people could have the ability to go and have visionary experiences. You may not be built for that. So if you do like Qigong, like I teach, like if you go onto my channel and just do Thor's belt, right? You can go on my channel, learn how to search within a channel, and go on my channel and look for the Thor's belt meditation. There's no necessary vision there, but if you follow the techniques, then you will have an experience. You'll have an energetic experience. So I want you to get rid of the idea that you have to visualize something. It has nothing to do with your third eye being blocked. This again, I'm talking about chakras, third eye chakra. People want to open up their third eye. Well, it doesn't work like that. Your Kundalini will rise, and when it gets to your third eye, it gets to your third eye. People think that their third eye is open because they see things or they experience things, and that it's spiritual. There's a lot of people who can see things and see auras, and their Kundalini is still trapped in their lowest chakra. They think they're awakened, and they're not. This is one of the biggest just mythologies around us. Just be a human being. Stop worrying about, is my third eye open? It doesn't matter. Your third eye will open when it opens. And you don't have to remedy it. You say, how can I remedy this? You don't have to remedy it. You just find the way you are. You don't, like I said, you aren't able to, you don't have visionary experiences, then do the physical Qigong and just do the practice. Trust me, you'll get everything you want out of it. All right, Medicine Man, if you can teach me internal martial arts, I'll pay you whatever you want. Well, that's good to know. I'm currently not teaching. But if you are in Australia and I decide to open up a class, you can come looking for me. Assuming I'm still here in Australia. My plan is to stay here, but with everything that's going on in the world, I have no idea where I'm going to be in the next 6 months. Brian, I am one of Sadhguru's loyal followers and you have upset us. Well, I'm not talking about Sadhguru. I don't know if you're kidding or if you're being real, but I'm not talking about Sadhguru. That's not who I'm talking about. Let's see. Oh yeah. Oh, okay. All right, he did the Cobra Venom thing. Well, it's okay with me that you're upset, Brian. Here's what we're going to do. That was a different video than today, and you're distracting me with all these things. This is a question and answer, so I'm going to put you in a timeout, and if you have an actual question and you're not being a pain in the ass, and by the way, if you don't like what I say, go somewhere else. If I truly am upsetting you, you have my permission to go somewhere else. Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. If you have an honest question for me, whether you like me or not, I'm okay with that. I'll be happy to answer your question unless you're abusive. All right, let's see. Renee, Battlewoman of the Woods. Okay, that's just talking. Archangel Wasap says, what is the best way to raise consciousness level? First off, why do you need the best way? Your problem starts with your question. Why do you need the best way? Why can't you just have a way? Why can't you just, there's so many different ways. The best way is the one that works best for you. The things I teach are the things that work best for me. That's why I teach them. So if you ask me what's the best way to raise consciousness level, I'm going to say, go to thunderwizard.com and click on the 90-day challenge. That is the best way for me to raise my consciousness. And if you want to have what I have, then go do what I do. And if that works for you, keep doing it. And if it doesn't, go somewhere else. What are the best universal laws one can impact in more meaningful? Why do you need the best of everything? Can you see the judgment you're making? I understand it, but it's coming from your fear. It's coming from your insecurity. So the best thing for you to do is to acknowledge that you're afraid and just start trusting the universe. And let me explain something. I know because I've experienced this. The really high level teachings in the universe, like there are teachings, energy teachings and spiritual teachings that have not been transmitted to humans yet, that are more evolved and more advanced than we can currently handle. So they haven't been transmitted. And one way that you learn how to get those is by mastering what is available to you. And by asking the question to the universe of, how can I unlock the secrets within the basics? So I have, for instance, I teach in one of my DVDs, a couple of my DVDs. Oh, and the 90-day challenge. What am I talking about? I teach 2 standing postures in the 90-day challenge. And if you just did one of those postures for 4 hours a day for the rest of your life, you would achieve whatever word you want to use. And it's the most basic of practices. But the reason why that works is that when you do a posture for 4 hours a day, you overcome your fears, you overcome your self-generated doubts and negativity. You learn how to overcome your resistance, because throughout the whole thing, you're going to want to get out of that posture. It's going to start becoming really intolerable. Your whole body will start shaking. Your kundalini will awaken. Your chi will balance itself. And then what will happen is you will start to perfect from that posture, perfect the energy body. The masters, like the Taoist masters who fly and can do all things and walk through walls, well, after they've gone through all of the fancy things, then at the end of their life, they just do the standing postures. That's their whole practice. So I want you to get rid of this idea of what is the best, what is the best, what is the best. Just do what's in front of you. For you, I recommend doing that 90-day challenge. Do that. Do that every day. And that, I think, might be one of the best ways for you. How can I regenerate my body after some damage? I mean, all of these questions. Archangel, I don't know you, but it strikes me that you don't have a teacher. And it also strikes me that you haven't done a discipline. Because all of these kinds of questions are somebody who hasn't done anything, and you want everything right now. And I understand that. But you're going to have to start from the beginning. I don't know if yoga is the way. I don't know if Qigong or martial arts or meditation or mantra. I don't know what your way is. But you should start with one thing and just master the basics of that one thing. And have a teacher. And if you're doing drugs like smoking weed, you should stop doing that immediately. Do my 90-day challenge. You could do the Thor's belt I have right underneath your question. Okay, that's not a question. Let's see. Questions. Guy home. Question. I heard the thunder and that rain right after. It's blissful. Can you explain things about energy of thunder and energy work and talk about Thunar? I can, but that's a whole other video. That's not what we're talking about today. I have plenty of videos on that. If you don't know how to, go to my YouTube channel page and learn how to search within my channel, and you can type in all of those search words. You can also go to thunderwizard.com, and I teach you all of these things in succession. If you want to start even at the basic level of subscription, I teach you the mastery of shamanism, and I teach you all that stuff. So your question is about 2 weeks worth of stuff that I can't smash into one answer. So just keep your eyes open and search my channel if you want for more of that stuff. Medicine Man, question. What makes your spiritual program unique, and is it more effective than other spiritual disciplines? Okay, so the same thing to your question that Archangel is. First off, I understand that. You want to know what's unique about my practice, so let me sit with myself for a second and see if that's a question that I can answer without responding from ego. What I can tell you is this. First off, your need to know about what's unique about it won't help you. Because the only way to truly know how my program is unique is by doing it. I can tell you that it is unique. In fact, I was just on the phone earlier today with somebody, and we were talking about, I was asking him questions because this guy's more of a TCM, master of traditional Chinese medicine and acupuncture, and I had some questions about different energy pathways and energy qualities, and so by talking to him I actually came to realize that the stuff I do is like there's no other art in the world that we know of that does this kind of stuff. So what I can tell you is that it is unique. You won't find it. You'll find some of this stuff other places, but the main thread of it you probably won't find anywhere else. Probably. But you won't know that until you do it. But then again, it's not my job to meet your test. You're testing me. And it's not my job to do that. If you feel attracted to it, then go practice it. And if you don't want to pay for it, then put the time and effort into looking on my channel, the free channel, for the different exercises. Try the Thor's hammer. Try the Thunar, the Indra's web meditation mantra. Try any of the exercises that I've got on there. The whole breath. Here's one. Just go do this if you haven't done it already. This is the fundamental practice. Everybody listening to me, if you want to tap into the goddess who has given me this knowledge and who is overseeing everything that I teach, then do the whole breath. Just type in whole breath anywhere and it'll come up. Go do it. It's free. If you do the whole breath for an hour a day for the rest of your life, you'll get everything you need. So there you go. There's my free gift to the whole world. So go try that out. If it works for you, then maybe you want to try some other stuff that I teach. If not, go do something else. Is it more effective than other spiritual disciplines? That's a really great question. It depends on what you're talking about. More effective at what? Yoga is really good at awakening Kundalini and stretching the body and getting the all of the glands and the whatever the system in the body. I forget what that is. I forget what it is. The little things in your body that release all this. Yeah, yoga is really good for that. Tai Chi and Qigong is really good for Chi energy and balancing the meridians and bathing the 5 organs in the power of the universe and achieving a sense of bliss and connection to the universe. I'll tell you the main thread of what I do, which you might not find in other disciplines to the extent that I have it. This is a thunder path, which means that we cleanse negativity. So, for instance, in astrology, Mars is the warrior. So the job of Mars is to purify negativity. But when you want to purify spiritual negativity, you look for Jupiter to go retrograde, because then Jupiter becomes the lightning god. And even Mars runs from Jupiter when he's retrograde. I'm a thunder wizard. And so I bring lightning. Lightning destroys negativity and, balances that. So that's my focus. That's why I am the way that I am. That's why I am constantly, people ask questions, I'm getting to the source of it, and I seem very aggressive and I point out what your thinking is and all that. When I can be a real pain in the ass, it's because that's the thunder coming out. So the thunder is about fighting demons. This is why I talk about the unconscious all the time. I talk about all the demons in the unconscious and how to work through it, because I'm a thunder wizard. So what's going to be unique about my path that isn't necessarily, other paths aren't doing it. But the one thing that you'll find unique is the thread of it. And again, I do a lot of the same things everybody else does. But again, you won't know until you do it. And when you do it, then you'll know, from a personal standpoint. You don't need me to explain to you. Jam question. So again, am I talking about this? Let's see. Oh, yes, you are. This is in context. My apologies. Your question is in context. You say, is it necessary for men to retain their seed in order to raise their Kundalini? Short answer, no. Is it helpful? It can be under the right circumstances. But first, let me just say to everybody here, I do not recommend people who are self-taught withholding their sexual release. Do not do that. It is damaging to you. It's not normal and it's not human. You can go on to thunderwizard.com and I have a practice called Sat Kriya. If you don't want to go on my channel, you can just go look it up on YouTube. Sat Kriya. If you want to retain your semen, do that practice every day, but only to the extent where it doesn't become distracting. So if you have a practice, which I've done practices where if you do it right, you'd never even think about it, because the practice will shift the flow of energy so that the the sexual fluids will go up the spinal column and go up to the third eye, and you don't have to do anything. But if you're having to stop yourself and retain it, then it's not working. You might as well just release, because it just pools up inside of you and it creates heat. And this will be damaging to you, and it will be distracting. You're much better off being sexually healthy. There is no benefit. The people out there that are saying, retain your seed, that's not healthy. I'll tell you, like the no-fap, people are confusing semen retention with not masturbating to porn. Those are two different things. If you don't want to watch porn, stop watching porn. That's easy. But that doesn't necessarily, they're not the same thing. So people have this guilt. Men especially especially men now, men who are disempowered, men who didn't get enough Shakti from their mother. Men feel that they need to not have sex to gain their power over women, which just isn't true. So if you're somebody that, you can't, you watch too much porn, or you're addicted to porn, or it's a real thing, by the way, it's a real thing. Because little kids now get access to porn when they're 5 and 10 years old, and it messes them up, and they can't, when they become sexually active, they can't have normal sex. That's a very real thing. So they need to just stop watching porn. That's the simple. They don't have to stop their normal sexual release. But if you can find a practice like Satkriya, or the practice that I do, which I don't teach, but it's because I can't teach it, but the spirit fighting practice, when I do that enough, I don't even think about it. My body my body automatically doesn't need it. I can change things, I can make the decision to change the flow of energy, and then if I want to become sexual, I can. But it's a choice. But if you don't have that choice, then bottom line is no. Short answer is no. If what you're asking me is that you want to stop watching porn and masturbating to porn, then just stop doing that. But, when you need to release. And there's nothing wrong with having a partner or doing it alone. When you need to take a dump, you take a dump. When you need to piss, you piss. You need to let your body do its thing. There's no benefit in trying to hold that back, unless you have a technique. And if you don't have a technique, then don't do it. Addison Silva question: could you tell us more about the posture? What posture? I teach multiple postures. Let's see, you can go to this website if you want to learn the Qigong that I practice, and there's multiple postures in there. You can also look for my Medicine Wheel Qigong DVD. I teach multiple postures there. If you don't want to learn it from me, you can learn any posture. You can learn the Wuji standing posture. I mean, any internal martial artist will teach you a standing posture. Any posture will work. So put some energy into looking for it. If you want me to teach you, I've got multiple things. You can also get the lockdown package, which includes I think I only have 1 or 2 more left, and then I'm going to completely get rid of that package. Lockdown package includes the Celestial Qigong. So what you're looking for is a Zhong in Cantonese, or I forget how they say it in Mandarin. Standing posture. Look for any internal martial arts standing posture. You don't have to learn it from me. That's what I'm talking about. Go do that. There's multiple ones. All right, let's see what else. Archangel, what's up? Question, is it possible to recover from complex PTSD with meditation and or yoga only? No. Why do people ask these questions? Why don't you want to get help? I mean, I understand. I'm reflecting back to you the insanity of your question. I understand why you want to do it alone. No, of course not. If you're in need of a brain surgeon, can you do brain surgery on yourself? Even if you're a brain surgeon? No, you need to have somebody else do it for you. You can't do it alone. You're not just talking about PTSD, you're talking about complex PTSD. What is wrong that you aren't willing to go do whatever you need to do to heal yourself? You don't like one therapist, go find another. I mean, listen to the question. Imagine a guy walking down the street, right? He's got a broken leg and he's infected and it's pussing and he's dripping pus everywhere. And he walks into, the pharmacist and he says, hey, do you have like an aspirin or something that would fix this? And the guy's like, get your ass to the hospital. I kind of just want to do it at home by myself. That's what your question is. You said I have complex PTSD, assuming this is you, and can I fix it myself? Come on, man, what's wrong with this? Think it through, of course not. What else? Ellipsis Omega, you're cute, but not cute enough. What else? Dean Nevins, question. From my understanding, Kundalini is mainly about internal energy. Why does drawing or inscribing runes on objects have an effect? Well, Dean Nevins, you're getting a little too dualistic about it. It's not an internal versus external. You're right. You're absolutely right. And that's because that's what I've taught you, which is that Kundalini comes from inside and Qi is also inside and outside. So this is a good question. Why does drawing... So what Dean Nevins is assuming, because this is what I've taught, he's reflecting back what I've taught, which is that runes are Kundalini energy. And that there is a difference between Qi energy and Kundalini. Kundalini is psychological energy. Now, you can hook your Kundalini into other people's Kundalini. But there is... For instance, let me give you an example to see if this explains it. Can you hear that? Australia. I don't know if you could hear that or not, the kookaburras. Right, runes and Kundalini. So, hopefully this will explain it. So when I used to live in California before it burned down, I used to go every year by myself in September after everybody had left. I would go up and I would backpack into the wilderness of the High Sierra Nevada mountains, and I would spend 2 weeks by myself. And I would do that for all kinds of different reasons, but one of them was so that I could tap into infinity, because when I went there, it was like, those mountains which are made of granite, which is basically a crystal. Those granite mountains are like this great antenna for connecting to really powerful energy. So I would go there to be able to tap into the highest energy I could, and I'd do all kinds of meditation and shamanic work and et cetera, et cetera. And then as I would drive back down, I'd get in my car, I'd hike back to my car, 20 miles, and I'd get back to my car, and then I'd drive down the mountain. And as I'd get to about what felt like, 3/4 of the way down the mountain, I would get to this barrier. And I could feel it. I'd pass through this barrier, and then I would hear and feel all of the emotions and it was really painful. I'd cry every time. I would cry. It was so painful, so sad, because I was in this state of bliss where it was just me and Shiva connecting to all of the universe, and now I'm listening and I can feel and hear everybody's thoughts, but you can feel there's like a dome over societies. Like cities, each city has its own dome over it. And then each country has its own dome over it. And the dome is the unconscious projections, the collective unconscious of that society, that time period. And it controls how you think and how you feel and what you believe. And this is done because people don't like being left alone in the wilderness. That's why, an interesting thing, if you look at a lot of primitive tribal people who become integrated into a civilized society, what will happen is, like, one of the first things will happen is they live in the forest. Like, they live in the jungles of Brazil or whatever. They live completely in the forest, and they're one with the forest. And then a Christian missionary will come along and will tell them the devil, and then they'll start talking about the devil and God and the right way. And then all of a sudden, in their mind, the jungle starts becoming inhabited by demons. And you'll hear them. Then they'll start clearing out the forest and creating villages not in the forest, and you'll find it's because the demons live in the forest. And I find that really interesting. And the reason why that is because they're creating this psychological dome, because they're now being influenced by Christianity, which means the civilized world. So the reason why people don't like being left alone in the wilderness, in fact, if you've never done it, I dare you to go and spend just 3 days alone, without cell phone, without internet, without television, without radio, without any connection to other people, and in a nature setting. I dare you to do it. Of course, please make sure that you have all of your food and water needs taken care of. Go and for 3 days, you'll start going crazy. You think, oh yeah, I'd be able to do it. Trust me. It's very challenging. Now try doing it for 2 weeks. Try doing it for a month. You'll go crazy. You are so addicted to the dome that you live under, the thoughts, the beliefs. These are just in the collective unconscious, and it's flying around in the ethers. So that is a form of Kundalini. Short answer to the question, Dean Evans. That's a form of Kundalini. So by inscribing runes, which I'm saying are Kundalini energy, it goes up into that matrix of emotional energy. And then you can have effects on people. I'm not saying that is the only way. I mean, if we have to parse it down, that's one way to look at it. That's a very limited way to look at Kundalini and runes. So I don't want you to just get stuck in that. But if that helps you see how you can work with runes and connect with others and influence others, that is one explanation, which is, again, only scratching the surface. Question, how can I balance my root chakra? Go to thunderwizard.com and do the exercises. Do yoga. Do Qigong. Go on my channel and do Qigong. Do the free Qigong. I gave you Thor's belt. Go do that. A lot of you, if you're listening to me and you've never had an energetic practice before, go do it. Spirituality, the only place in the world where spirituality is not connected to some kind of energetic or meditative practice is in the West. And that's because of Christianity, because Christianity is a completely intellectual religion. How do I know that? Because Jesus says, if you believe in me, you'll be saved. What he's saying is, if you have the intellectual belief, St. Paul said, if you believe that Jesus died on the cross and rose from the dead after 3 days, you will be saved. He's saying, if you intellectually accept this belief, you'll be spiritual. This is why there's so many intellectual questions, because you are Westerners, and our Western society is built off of that. Our ancestors didn't have that. Our ancestors had, life was an experience. So when you go outside of Western Christian society, or monotheist society, which is Muslim as well, Muslim and Jewish and Christian are all intellectual religions. When you get outside of the influence of the Abrahamic religions, you find people who have spiritual practices. They do rituals, they do meditations, they do Qigong, they do yoga, because we have this energy field, we have this energy body, we have this nervous system that connects directly to our environment. So spirituality was about connecting to everything that exists, not just sitting around intellectualizing. So the majority of you, if you're coming onto my channel because you're searching YouTube and you're going from one New Age thing to another, and we want to talk about Kundalini, and we want to talk about this, get a practice. Get an actual energetic, scientific practice that connects you. Because we are beings of action. Thought is really almost nothing. Thought thoughts come from somewhere else. You think if I can control my thoughts, it's not about controlling your thoughts. Your thoughts are like the waves in the ocean. They're the result of something else. So trying to control your thoughts is a waste of time. You can watch your thoughts, experience your thoughts, learn how to have your thoughts, and then learn how to take action based on consciousness. Learn how to take action sometimes completely opposite to your impulses. That's valuable, but controlling your thoughts is a waste of time. You can't do that. Can't control your feelings either. You can get to the root of thoughts and feelings, which can be accessed through things like yoga, Qigong, meditation, mantra. Those are pathways to get to the roots of the causes of them. And then when you get there, then you have the benefit of looking like you control your thoughts. So asking me the question, how can I balance my root chakra? My first reaction to that is that you don't have practice. Because if you had a practice, you wouldn't have to ask that question. You'd know. You'd just go do your practice, and you would be able to balance your root chakra then. Archangel, what's up? Question: is it possible to gain money through law of attraction or some other way without super hard work when one is out of money and need it for, let's say, PTSD therapy? There's so many questions in there. So Archangel, what's up? How long have you been on my channel? When have you ever heard me say that how to use the law of attraction? So you can type into my channel law of attraction and you'll hear me talk about why the law of attraction doesn't work. At best, it's incomplete. So you want to know, your real question is that you have PTSD and you need therapy and you don't have any money. So you want to be able to snap your fingers and magically find money to get PTSD therapy. I feel for you. Here's how this works. You have to decide what you want. Is getting therapy in your best interest? So that's interesting because that was what your original question was about. Your original question was, can I heal PTSD through yoga and meditation? Your real question was, I don't have any money. I want money so I can go get therapy. So your lack of money is your own projection. You've manifested a lack of money because there's a conflict within you. Actually, the answer to the question I'm asking, why aren't you going and getting therapy? I already know the answer to the question. I'm asking it to you in a rhetorical way so you'll think about it. But I already know the answer. The answer is that you feel that you don't deserve to be healthy. You are addicted to the dysfunction that keeps you sick and keeps you in pain and keeps you in PTSD and keeps you outside of money. And I'm not judging it. I already know. I'm not being cavalier. It's very, very challenging and difficult. But you also, asking the question, can I do it through yoga and meditation? The underlying assumption is that you don't want to be seen. You don't want to go to therapy. There's a part of you that doesn't want to reveal what's going on because you're unconscious. If you reveal it, then it will heal. And however you got the PTSD was a result of some kind of dysfunction or some kind of abuse. So by staying in your PTSD, you're protecting the abuser that caused the problem in you to begin with. So you have to be ready to, go to war against your need to protect your abuser. Whether that's real or imagined, doesn't matter. It's the same dynamic. So just again, that's what this 90-day challenge is about. It helps people do exactly what I'm talking about. But the short answer is just commit to your health. And if you don't have money, there is no doubt in my mind, I have zero doubt in my mind that if you put the effort into it, you can find free therapy, either online or in where you live, if you put the effort into it. But you're not going to put the effort into it unless you are completely committed to your health and well-being. There are places like Codependence Anonymous, that may work for you, may not. CODA.org. If you have complex PTSD because you went through abuse or dysfunction, you're probably, among other things, codependent. I would go there. It's free, and they will have access to all kinds of other resources. I'm sure there's online resources. I don't know what they are, but I know there's got to be. I've seen them before. I wish I had kept them, but there's websites where you can go to and get free help. But that starts with you being completely committed. So you have to be in the space where you say, I am going to find therapy or it's going to kill me. If it's the last thing I do, this is the one thing I'm committed to. And then you'll find what you need. And then you don't have to go through these things of, can I magically manifest, because that's staying in that same mindset. It starts with being completely committed to finding what you want. Maybe you need to be on disability. So you want money because you have complex PTSD, maybe you can go on disability. You know what I mean? There's so many avenues for you to find what you want, but you have to be committed to finding it. So that would be my suggestion to you. Medicine Man. Question, I heard from a black magician that you can have your chakras removed. Is this true? Medicine Man, my first suggestion is to watch my channel, because I have a video on, can you have your chakras removed? No, you can't have your chakras removed. And chakras are not alien implants either. They are, they're part of you. And no, that's all nonsense, short answer. Jonathan Todd, hey, what's up? Hope all is well. I was wondering what your thoughts on monotheist practices, if they actually hinder your spiritual growth. Jonathan Todd, welcome to my channel. If you have a question, the first thing I'd like for you to do is write the word question so that I don't miss it, and then have a well thought out question. My second thing to say to you is welcome to the channel. I know you're new because I've got to have probably 20 videos on how destructive monotheism is. So you can type in the word Christianity, you can type in the word Jehovah, you can type in the word Abrahamic religions, if you know how to do that. If you're on a desktop, you go to Thunder Wizard DOTCOM YouTube channel, like you just type in Thunder Wizard on YouTube and you look for my channel, you'll see my YouTube channel. You go to my YouTube channel and you go to the menu that has a little magnifying glass, and you click on that and you type in whatever word you want. If you're on a phone or on an iPad, then it'll be some pull down menu where you can type in a search word. Learn how to do that. Make use of my channel. I have almost 1,000 videos on my channel now. So put the time and effort to search within my channel. So that's my question to you. Hours and hours and hours of exactly how. You can also get my book, Odin Says Jesus Was a Coward. You can go get my book, and you can also watch my videos where I read my book. There's just no shortage of information to learn about that. Okay, so that's it for questions. I don't see any more questions. So I'm going to do some business. Thunderwizard.com, as I said, is my subscription site. That's what keeps me doing this. It's what keeps me on the air. And if you go to courses.thunderwizard.com, you're going to see all of my paid services and teachings and videos. And so what I'm looking to do is to eventually get to the place where I no longer have to subsidize my thunderwizard.com website with purchased items, because the combination of those things is what pays my bills. I want to get to the place where I don't have to have, you spend $100 or $200 or $300 on this and that, which I want to be able to give all of those teachings and all of those video packages to everybody and have it be affordable. The way that would work is if I have enough people subscribed, then I can lower the price down and you're just paying for a monthly subscription and you can unsubscribe whenever you want. But instead of having, a few people, if I had 1,000 people subscribing, then I would have more than enough money to constantly come on and do videos and constantly upload new things. And you're paying, whatever minuscule amount it is in comparison to that. So for that, go to thunderwizard.com and subscribe at whatever level you want. Of course, subscribe and hit the bell button for this channel. You'll achieve immediate enlightenment just by subscribing and smashing the bell button. The 90-day challenge is the most recent one, which will allow you. It's me taking you through these practices. I do a yogic practice in the morning. I do a Taoist meditation practice in the day, and then I combine the two in the nighttime practice. The most powerful thing is Qigong and mantra put together, and then you get to be able to intend your reality. So I teach you exactly how to do that, and I show you. You do it with me. You just press play, and you do what I do and listen to me narrate. Now sit here, breathe this way, say this. And then you get to energetically shift. You get to get the power energetically to make decisions and follow through. And your consciousness shifts to another level where you can really have the ability to create your reality. And in my experience, to answer the other question, it's far superior to the law of attraction, which I said not only is incomplete, but is actually very destructive. And I talk about that. If you want to watch that in other videos, you can. Let's see, what else? Archangel, what's up? Question, is it possible to program crystals like Amethyst? Yes. Archangel, what's up? Question, are twin flames, according to your spiritual practices, real? Again, I have videos about this. Go watch my videos about it. My overall answer for you, Archangel, is to spend more time watching my channel. And two things you need. You need to watch my channel and you need a practice. So go on right now, because I can tell that you don't have a practice that you're disciplined, that you need to be doing every day. So go on to my channel, the free channel, and look for Thor's belt. You can find it in the playlist. Okay? So go put some time and do that, and go do Thor's belt, and go do that practice every day. And then watch my videos. You need those two things. I can tell there's just too many questions flying out of you, and I can tell that you don't have a practice. Let's see, what else? Nothing else. All right, so I've done my business. I've answered all my questions. And I can't yell over the rain anymore, so I'm going to go. I need to eat. I'm really hungry. So thank you all for coming onto my channel and allowing me to teach myself, and I look forward to further things. All right, see you later.